What is going on? I This is my first live stream, and uh I really find it kind of cumbersome. So what I'm trying to do is talk to you guys about developing products and how you might be able to develop products uh,
Products for the YouTube channel.
excuse me, develop products for your business. But in this live stream, they didn't give me a link. They didn't give me a link to share. So I just pulled up my share. Let's go to Twitter. Hey guys, I'm doing a live stream on the secrets to product. Join me. All right. Let's see if we get a couple people in here. But really, I want to have this as a little more interactive. And hopefully, you guys can ask some questions. I can tell you a little bit of the secrets as to how Beard Brand develops our products, how we look at it, our theories, our thought processes on everything, and maybe answer any kind of questions. So I hope we get a couple entrepreneurs on there. But even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're a fan of Beard Brand, you may find interest in how we're developing our products at Beard Brand. So I got Classic Monkey in here. Long time no see, Alicia. Michael Pro X. I appreciate you coming in the channel as well, getting those chats going. So, anyways, what I got here, our most recent product is our deodorant. So, our deodorant launched. All right, look at that. So, our deodorant launched last Tuesday, so a week ago tomorrow, and it was a fair amount of work. It's actually about 4 years of development. We originally had a formulation. Let me see if usually I carry like a prototype in my bag, but I've cleared that out. So we've had a fair amount of challenges with the deodorant, and when we think about product development, what we're thinking about is like how can we develop a product that doesn't currently exist on the marketplace, and that would be my recommendations for you guys out there. How do you develop a product that doesn't currently get served? And there's a lot of ways to think about that. Um, the most obvious way is you develop a product that's innovative, it drives the world forward. It's never been seen before, super killer, you know, impressive. Yes, like Tesla cars or something like that. Completely changing the face of automobiles. Then you can think about, okay, well, not everyone's Elon Musk. Not everyone has those abilities to develop uh, like a car company from scratch. So there's other ways I want you to think about developing products. Some may be as simple as, finding a product on the shelf like a deodorant and being able to do it at a lower price, like being able to figure out economies of scale or innovative manufacturing techniques or ingredient production or cost production or material production, whatever that may be, where you can drive down the price. So you're essentially selling the exact same price, but it's going to be at a lower price. Now, I wouldn't recommend that if you're a small bootstrap company, because typically for you to be able to get the lower prices, you have to perform at a much higher quantity. So you're investing a whole lot, and there's a lot of risk and driving down prices for a product where the market may have not been established yet. So you may have essentially like all this demand or all this surplus, all this supply for a product, but there's no demand there. So you couldn't even give away the product. So that's always going to be a risk with that. And I would assume that any kind of product that you develop is going to have some risk. Another item or another way to develop a product is essentially come up with the exact same product, but you put it in interesting packaging, or you develop packaging that is innovative. Maybe it dispenses a little bit cooler. I think a real recent product that comes to the top of my head that's relatively new, I'd say within the past 5 years or so, is hand soap. So everyone knows hand soap. Dial the orange little liquid. Well, a few years ago, they came out with this pump that automatically aerated the soap, and it goes. I don't know how it happens. It's literally magic to me, but it goes from liquid to foam like instantaneously, and then you're able to foam up your hands, and that kind of thing. They're essentially selling the same thing. They're selling, um, hand soap. I would imagine the product's maybe slightly different to work with the packaging, but it's generally the exact same thing. What they've done is they've come up with brand new packaging, and then of course a combination of things like developing a product that hasn't been done. So I've got a few things here, like our Temple Smoke Sea Salt Spray. So the Temple Smoke Sea Salt Spray is it's quite amazing. Yeah, Grazzy Dazzy. Only 9 people in here. This is my first content in over a year, so I would imagine a lot of people who are seeing this thought I might be dead or have moved on from the channel. No big deal. I'll get it going again. So hopefully you 9 people out there enjoy the content. But the Temple Smoke Sea Salt Spray. So when we came up with this idea for the sea salt spray, it kind of like the Beard brand ethos for products is we don't want to develop a product unless it's doing something innovative in the marketplace. If we don't want to create another, mass produced commodity that's essentially exactly done like everyone else out there. So with the sea salt spray, I grew up going to the beach. I went to the beach and I just like I started thinking about the name. I started thinking about sea salt spray and like how does your hair work when you go to a beach for a period of time? And then I realized like what happens when I went to the beach. I would go boogie boarding. I would go surfing. I would go like you know s- you know body surfing. Is that what it's called when you just float and you put your arms out and you lay? And what happens is like you end up like tumbling around in the waves. Like the waves crash on you, but when they're crashing on you, they're churning up all the sand, all the dirt. And so it was that experience that I had that kind of like was the light bulb for the idea for sea salt spray. And sea salt spray, what we essentially did is we found kaolinite clay. I always pronounce that wrong. And yeah, kaolinite. And what we did is we put that in there to mimic the um, mimic the sand in there. So no one had ever done that before. Everyone just essentially either they bottled the water or they essentially made like a liquid gel. I I don't know. I think we nailed it. So of course, like with that product, we were able to have a little bit of clay in there. You shake it up. When you shake it up, it's like when the waves crash and that foam out there. So it's like a very beach like experience. And no one had been doing that. So when you develop a product that no one's been doing, then it's going to be a lot easier to tell that story and to be able to show the performance and be able to compete against everyone else, not necessarily on price or packaging, but on product. So I want you guys to think about like how you can innovate products that currently exist in the marketplace, not just because it makes the world better, which I think it does, but um, because I don't know. I want to challenge you guys to, yeah, I mean, really to make the world better. And I guess it's fair to like just commoditize products and steal ideas and just figure out how to do it cheaper. And that's a way to make the world better. But you're always in that mentality. You're always going to be a step behind. You're never going to have innovative products. You're always going to be, lagging. You're always going to be a me too. And I guess people if they're price sensitive, that's what you have to go to. But you have to be cutting costs for everything, right? Because if you're going to win on the cost cutting games, that means you gotta buy the cheapest furniture in your office. That means you gotta, fly coach. That means, or you don't fly at all. You drive a car. Like that mentality for cost cutting needs to be pervasive within your organization. And Amazon has it. And what's interesting about Amazon is like I always assume that Amazon's hiring the brightest and the best people. And I mean, to be fair, I think there's a lot of really bright and amazing people at Amazon. Don't get me wrong. Um, what I found out is they're not paying top market rates. They're actually pretty cheap with their employee benefits and salaries and things like that. So that's not a lot of fun. Like I would much rather build a business where you build stuff that's better than everyone else. You sell to people who appreciate value, appreciate quality, and who understand that the life isn't about like grinding all the time. So I don't know. Grazi, it's a bummer. It's a little laggy. So this is my first time doing it. I'll have to figure out why that is or how I might be able to improve the stream here. Um, and Robbie, thanks for the compliment on the hair. It all has to do with the sea salt spray. So, rambling on about products, product development. What else I want to talk about is, if you're brand new to developing products, you do need to get inspiration. Ideally, inspiration is going to come from your own experiences because you'll have that story to tell. I think having a story tied in with a product is so beneficial because it helps build some authenticity to the product. It builds some realness. It builds like your ability to kind of defend the product when people question why it doesn't perform like this product or that product. You can say, well, this is the reason why we developed the product like this is to serve this specific need in the marketplace. And if you're not that need, then that's okay. You can use it and maybe find value, but it wasn't exactly generated for that use. So I wanted to um, like just encourage you to develop that story. So every product here, or almost every product here, we've had a story developed. So Temple Smoke beard oil, we wanted to the name Temple Smoke came from a story. So a little bit of the development of that is, I mean, all of our fragrances or all of our beard oils are the same base formulation. So in theory, like we haven't innovated between any of them except for the fragrance. And then the innovation comes with the fragrance name and being able to tell that story of Temple Smoke. And Temple Smoke is based on ingredients that were used as incense and ceremonies for religious places around the world. So the primary inspiration was oud. Oud is this wood that gets attacked by a fungus, and in fighting that fungus, it emits this resin, and it's that resinous wood that has this very like heavenly kind of. And to me, heavenly is one of my favorite fragrances. They're kind of heavenly notes, but we also use some Palo Santo in there, which again in South America is used for incense. We use similar ways. It's used in ceremony as well. So you want to be able to have that story going on for your products. But like, I want to dig back. Like, if you're brand new to entrepreneurship, like you get overwhelmed. Okay, so you probably have an idea, you have a vision, really make sure you're refining that story. But then you have to think about like how are you going to build your business? What is the strategy for the business? So if you're starting from ground up for product development, and you want to build a business around a product, then you got to think about how are you going to sell the product. So you can sell your product directly to consumers, which has never been a greater time through platforms like Shopify or even on Amazon, eBay. There's a lot of markets out there. You can also sell it in person through retail. So you open up a bricks and mortar, which is probably a pretty challenging thing to do right now due to the whole COVID stuff and people being afraid to go out. So I probably want to recommend that. And then you can sell through the channel. And what that typically means is you sell to other people who are selling it. So you kind of become a manufacturer or designer. Um, Historically, if you think about it, Nike is a perfect example. Nike made their shoes. They sold it to Foot Locker. Foot Locker managed the relationship with the customer. They had sales consultants. Nike was able to put all the resources in designing and manufacturing shoes that were interesting, and then Foot Locker would focus on being in the right marketplaces where the customers were located, and then developing an experience where they could kind of educate uh, consumers, and they'd be able to try on shoes that they liked. So if you're selling through the wholesale channel, it's very common to have what's called keystone pricing. Keystone pricing, for those who don't know, is if it costs you, um, or you develop a pair of shoes. Let's say you want the shoes to sell for $100. Okay, so if you want the shoes to sell for $100, then you would sell it to Foot Locker for usually $50. And if you sold it to them for $50 and the retail price was $100, then that is keystone pricing. It's essentially allowing the wholesaler to double the price. You are going to need to have margins in there. Typically, your gross margins on that are going to be another 50%. So you're aiming for about 75% margins. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh my God, 75% margins, 80% margins, you're just making so much money." Well, the reality is you're not, because half that money is going to Foot Locker. And then probably like half that money is going to your product cost, right? And then, probably about 30% of that money is going to go to um, marketing efforts. They're going to go to overhead, your facilities, um, your employees, all that stuff. And then hopefully you're left with about 20% profit. And that would be my recommendations for a smaller business who's trying to be sustainable. Bootstrapped is ideally trying to aim for around 20%. You can also hit like a 15% and still be a healthy company. And then, of course, anything higher than that is just it allows you to reallocate more resources into the business to be able to grow at a faster rate. Once you get down into like the 5% margins, or even lower at a small scale, you're putting your business at risk. If you think you can grow and maintain those margins over time and hit like multi-million dollars a year, then it it will be okay for you to maintain those margins. Or if you feel like you're able to develop what they call efficiencies of scale. So you're able to, like let's say you're producing this beard oil and it costs, $10 or $20 to make. And then by, making a million of them, you can drive that cost down to $5 and maintain the same quality, same product. Then yeah. So you take those lower margins, understanding that at a higher scale, you'll be able to generate a more sustainable profit. So that's where in the early days, a lot of companies will take outside money to be able to leverage leverage growth, essentially leverage product development, because those early margins are going to be so high, so tight. Um, excuse me, those early margins are going to be really, really tight. So when you're developing a product, I encourage you. It's a general rule, and everything has uh, everything's on a scale. So if you have a really high price product, $1,000 or $20,000 or whatever it is, you're not going to have those same margins that you would have with a, maybe like a $10 product or a hair tie or something like that. But if you can start with like those 75% margins as a target point and then kind of work from there, make sure that you'll be able to build sustainability. So the other reminder I want to have is with those margins, it's really important to understand that the things that Foot Locker do, like if you're like, oh, I'm just going to cut out Foot Locker. What do you think? Like Foot Locker's not bringing any value to the customer? You think they're just, making money? Well, no, like they're bringing value to the marketplace, and that's how they're able to exist and stay in business. So if you try to cut out Foot Locker, Foot Locker by going direct is you're going to have those same costs. So in the instance of Nike developing shoes, if Nike goes direct, now you have the cost of developing your website, managing your website. You're going to have the cost of customer service, like they would have never had the same kind of customer service demands that they will have by going direct. You're going to have the cost of marketing, where you want to have that marketing cost. Foot Locker would be bearing a lot of that by having it in store. And then you're going to have the logistics costs as well. So the beauty of sending to Foot Locker is you can put them on pallets or in trucks and send a whole truck to Foot Locker rather than sending one individual, um, box this size, which is going to be way more expensive per dimension than if you're doing everything in bulk. So just because you're cutting out parts of your distribution channel doesn't mean you should cut out those associated costs. So if you're like, okay, I've got $100 pair of shoes, Nike, sells them to Foot Locker for $50. Well, I'm just going to go direct and sell to Foot Locker, or not sell to Foot Locker, to sell direct to the consumer for $50. Well, chances are you may not have the margins in your product to be able to handle that. So those are considerations that I want you to think about when you're developing your products. All right, so take a quick little break. Let's read the comments. We got tons of them here, thousands and thousands of comments that I got to sort through. I want to be Bandholz. You're enjoying the Alliance content. I'm glad you're enjoying the Alliance content, and yeah, I'll keep on making it. I already got 2 videos recorded for that. So for those who don't know, I also have an Alliance channel, or a Beard Brand Alliance is another channel. And also for those who don't know, I'm the founder of Beard Brand, which I would be really surprised if you didn't know that. And then Rasmus, I don't know if you guys are still in the channel or not. I don't know who's here. I see there's 13 people here, but I don't see which 13 people are here. So Rasmus, it is good. It's been about a year since I've created any content on here, and I figured I just might go to live streams because I like to be able to turn it on, just start talking, and then hopefully be able to generate some kind of conversations with people who are interested in the topics, which is going to be primarily around business, building business. Oh man, I got water on here from building businesses, building products, talking about how we're making our products and going from there. Another thing I want to talk about is the scale. Um, Beard Brand, we've bootstrapped our company. So for those who don't know what bootstrap means, it means we essentially didn't take any debt from a bank, no bank loans to build a company, and we don't have any outside investors. So there's no third parties who are kind of pulling the strings. Everything that's going on at Beard Brand is done by the team at Beard Brand. We're in total control of how we're growing the company. There's advantages and disadvantages to that, which maybe can be for another topic. But I want to get back to product development. As a bootstrap company, you want to utilize your creative talents to figure out how to, especially in those early days, develop products at a lower uh, quantity level, right? So when we started with this beard oil, actually it was a Tree Ranger, Spice Citrus, and Tea Tree. They were our first beard oils, and this kind of packaging. I mean, I'll tell you the history of this. We we actually used aluminum labels, like aluminum foil. We put that on there, and then we realized that it will get a lot of creases in it. It's really hard to apply, so we switched to a poly label that looks aluminum, brushed aluminum. And so what we're able to do is um, do these in batches of like 20. So we were producing like really small batches of beard oil in those early days, we would buy a few gallons of oils, we would mix it together in our kitchen, and we would test it on ourselves, and we would get feedback from our customers. We got tons of feedback in those early days. We would modify the product, the packaging. Like one of the most early modifications we made was to the cap. The first batches we had no orifice reducer in it, and beard oil would just pour out. So it's a really simple fix for us. And you know, part of the thought process for us is like we didn't know what we didn't know. Like Beard Brand was our first business, and but we wanted to make sure that we created margins in the company to allow us to add on things like when you put an orifice reducer on there, that's an additional price that goes into the product. And then when you print out boxes, like in the early days, we didn't even have boxes, and then that's an additional cost that goes into it and an additional point. So you always need to kind of like understand where your vision wants to go, how you want to get there, and what are the general costs of everything to make sure that you're building a business that is sustainable. And that's ultimately like a reminder I want to say is like you don't want to develop a product that is not sustainable. If a product is not sustainable, it means it's not bringing value in the marketplace. So if I try to to make this product and sell it for $1 and it costs me, like significantly more than that, then I'm just going to go out of business, right? And I'm going to be like taking either my own cash or the investor's cash or the bank's cash and just reallocating it to the consumers. And then after a period of time, I'm just going to shut down. Um, so, as a bootstrap company, a small company, there are creative ways to figure out how to do things in smaller batches. The challenge of smaller batches is, maintaining that consistency. Any of our longtime customers at Beard Brand who are there in the early days know that our fragrances have evolved a lot over the years, and our fragrances evolved a lot because we were producing them in really small batches, with the seasonal aspects of our ingredients, not realizing that, every season the batch of like tobacco leaf may smell slightly different. Or if I get it from a different manufacturer, I'll have a completely different fragrance. So all those things we had to learn to the point where we were able to finally grow it to get to a point where we could work with a perfumer and have a more consistent product. And those things, like you almost have to like understand like in those early days that the product is going to change, and like helping consumers know that you want to change, like you want to make the product better. So like you're the things that you do on day number one aren't going to be the things you do on day number 1,000, because you're going to have learned so many new things about this product, and you're going to want to evolve it and change it and iterate it. I think one of the worst things you can do if you're trying to develop a product is to simply develop it once and be done with it. Like never hear from any customers or any feedback and make any kind of modifications to it. So always plan on like the product that you launch is going to be like your worst version of the product, and you're going to make mistakes along the way. Sometimes you'll make a change where you think it is better, and it ends up kind of being a step sideways or a step backwards. So that's just kind of the joys, which is the other big reminder that I want you guys to have in product development is you're never going to have a perfect product ever. You're never going to do it. And you'll never know if you have a perfect product until you sell it to your customers and you get the feedback, because what you think may be perfect, the market may not care about at all. I knew a guy who invested $40,000 in products, and they're a really cool, interesting product, but um, they weren't able to get the volume to sell that 40,000 units. So instead of doing like small batches and one at a time and kind of little iterations, they went big bold. Was like, this is the best idea ever. And now they have all this money tied up in inventory that's not moving. Whereas if they did a small batch, even at slimmer margins, like tighter margins, then they can make those iterations and changes based on what the customers are saying. Um, yeah, I want to be Bandholz. Yeah, too many regulations. So the beauty of America, America is a great place for business. Like I know America gets shat on a lot, and there's a lot of things that aren't great here in America, but we're able to create without without the burden of bureaucracy. So that's a big reason why American businesses tend to be so successful is because of the freedom that we have. So if you are like a really driven person and you have a lot of business ideas, if you can find a way to get into America, it is a great country for developing products and selling products and making the world a better place. So I don't know. This was about 30 minutes. A couple other questions you guys had. I'll save these. Yep, it's public, and then they'll go in the live stream tab. I don't know how regular I'm going to be. So just kind of when I get inspiration for any kind of subject matter. Generally, it's going to be around business, around what we're doing at Beard Brand, but it could be just kind of like self improvement, lifestyle stuff as well. Just things that I'm genuinely interested in. So I appreciate the 10 people who came in here and you know hung out. Hope you guys are doing well on the other side of the internet. This is your last chance to ask any questions until the next one, if there is a next one. If there isn't a next one, then hit me up and just bug me. Maybe I'll do it again or not. It's good to see you again, Alicia. I haven't seen your comments in a while. Probably because I got off of Instagram and all that jazz, but it's good to see you on YouTube. And good to see all my other regulars want to be banned. It's good to see your comments. And how do you get through blocks? I don't know what that means. All right, guys. This has been it. Short and sweet. 30 minutes. Product development. The big lesson is just do it. Just do it. Learn from it. Oh, creative blocks. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to block. Speaking of block, you have to block distractions. So my most creative moments are when I'm most bored. Boredom is a gift that not a lot of people that humanity didn't have until recently. So if you can create boredom in your life through eliminating distractions, closing your phone or closing your laptop, putting your phone down, taking walks, traveling is really good for me to be able to see different places and see the world a little bit differently. Kind of gets my creative juices flowing. And then sometimes it's just a matter of getting out there and doing it. So with this live stream, for example, I don't have a script here. On my computer screen, I'm literally looking at me and I'm looking at y'all's uh, comments, and I had no idea where to go. But by turning it on, you create an environment that maybe will allow you to have ideas come to you, and then you just kind of speak. So sometimes it's just action, right? Like if you want to illustrate, sometimes it's just a matter of grabbing a pen, grabbing a sheet of paper, and just moving your hand. And then sometimes something happens. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good, and that's okay as well. So yeah, that's it. That's product development in a nutshell. Yeah, start a business, the roadblocks. Yeah, I think that might be a good next stream. Maybe we'll talk about that next stream, how to start up a business, how to get an idea, how to build an organization, build a team, stuff like that. Love talking business. I could do it all day long. But I got to save my voice for a podcast. I'm recording in a little bit. So if you guys don't subscribe to my podcast, which is called E-commerce Conversations, be sure to subscribe to that podcast. I talk a lot about e-commerce there. I bring on some really bright guests, some talented guests, and they share their experiences as well. So, all right, guys, I'm out for real. As always, thanks for watching. Cheers. Keep on growing.